Hello, viewers and listeners. Welcome to Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Grace Kajge, and this is Behind the Microphone. Remember, Zimbabwe Daily is always fast and fast, a platform where we bring you news and everything that is trending. Okay, so those who wouldn't know, I just need to tell you something. Today is the International Day of an African Child. We all are Zimbabweans, we all are Africans, and we need to embrace that we are Africans. We need to be happy about being an African. So, you and me, we need to celebrate in commemoration of this day and remember that on this day, we need to remember and always put forward those children who died in Soweto, advocating for the inferior of the type of education that they were receiving. May their soul rest in peace. Okay, so today I'm joined with three gentlemen in the studio. Welcome, guys, and thank you so much for coming. We as Zimbabwe Daily, we are always grateful. These gentlemen, they came from ZINASU, so I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. I'll start with you, sir.
Revolutionary salutations, fellow countrymen. I answer to the name Bruce Moyo. I'm a student activist.
Greetings, Zimbabwe. I'm Lennon Takuzwa Mazuru, National Spokesperson for Zimbabwe National Students Union, ZINASU.
Revolutionary salutations, the creme de la creme, the paragons of intellectual dexterity. I am Blessing Makaveli, a student leader at Great Zimbabwe University, and revolutionary acknowledgements to those that rally behind to one Zolile Hector Peterson. Thank you very much.
You. Hey, yeah, yo. I feel like I'm just being defeated here. Ooh. I like it. You guys, you just embrace that you guys are Africans, and I can see that you are very much proud to be the sons of the soil. That's how we refer ourselves, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. So we just want to break down the theme. Maybe just one of you guys could just define the theme, just so that the viewers and listeners out there can just understand our theme. Remember, our theme is eliminating the harmful practices, progress on policy and practice since 2013.
Okay.
Lennon.
Okay, thank you. So, as we are reflecting much on that theme, eliminating harmful practices on African child, dated back to 2013, we should look much more on the policies which are being drafted and put in place, and coming from a context of a student in Zimbabwe, coming from a context of from being a student in Africa, the policies being put in place are not consistent. The policies being put in place are not benefiting any African child in Africa. Hence, by it is being harmful to us. If you look to the policies which are being implemented here in Zimbabwe, the policies whereby a child is not affording to get access to education, and that child is now going to drug abuse. You see the effect of it, whereby one is being forced to get married at an early stage.
Exactly.
It's very sad with the policies we are getting. So those are the things which we are saying, no, they must be abolished. They must be eradicated so that we have an African child who is empowered, so that we have an African child who is proud to stand at a world stage saying that I come from Africa. We need to shape the identity of Africa with something which is very shiny, with something which is very, very attractive out there. We don't have to be identified with poverty.
Exactly.
You see, so one can easily identify that you come from Africa simply because maybe you show poverty. So it's a very sad state which we are into, looking back from where we are coming from and where we are going. So this is the time moment whereby we need to eradicate all those policies which are leading to some of the practices I have mentioned. We mentioned about the early child marriages. We are talking about drug abuse. We are talking even about mass deferment in schools. Children and African children are dropping out in schools. The students on campuses, they are not getting they are not protected, especially the girl child. A child is not protected due to the conditions which they are living in. You see a girl child getting they call it semester marriages at campuses. So this is very, very bad. Blazers are around campuses, taking advantage of the situations of an African child, of an African girl child. So those are the things we must fight for as Africans, as African child. We should stand up and say no to all those things.
You know what? I feel this spirit, my blood is just coming up. You know, I'm motivated by your speech, so to say. It just lifts something in me. We need to know ourselves. We need to set goals for ourselves. We mustn't look down upon ourselves. As Africans, we need to set a goal. You know, I must take this degree and finish it. We mustn't be identified with bad things. And I think maybe we as Africans, we just have this tendency of looking down upon ourselves. You know, if you see a Ferrari, it must be a white guy. If you see a Jaguar, it must be a white guy. Why not you?
That's the system that was.
Why not you? Why can't you?
African
You know,
mentality just installed.
it's something, I think maybe it's just our culture that have instilled those bad values in us.
How we were brought up.
You see, if a girl falls pregnant, she must drop the school. But we never see that in the white people. We never see that. So maybe we need to eradicate this whole system that just throws us back. We need to perhaps come up with something, some initiatives, so that we as Africans can just embrace our culture, like Lennon was saying.
Absolutely.
Okay. So maybe you, Bruce, can just tell us about the impact of these harmful practices. What are they doing to us? You taking drugs, a girl dropping out of school due to pregnancy. What is the impact on us as Africans? How is it going to affect our future?
Well, thank you so much for the question. We have to understand the theme when it says eliminating harmful practices that are affecting African children. With this regard, we have to understand that there are people who are responsible in actually practicing or actually initiating those harmful
The
practices.
perpetrators.
Thank you. So that's where our solutions might actually derive from. Of course, my brother, he tackled important issues to do with students dropping out of school because of a government that is neglecting its duty according to Section 75 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, that it must provide affordable education for all citizens, whether poor or rich. But what we are witnessing is a colonialist education that actually our parents during the colonial era, they dropped out of school. They dropped out of school and went to the streets to fight for academic freedom and students' right, to fight for free education. So as a result, you are seeing students dropping out of school. They're going back to the ghettos and abusing drugs. They're abusing drugs and the issues to do with in mental health. We have witnessed so many cases of students committing a suicide. These are the cases that we are facing in our society. Meaning to say, our present time is being affected by the policies and by the practices which are initiated by those who are supposed to protect our future. And our future is robbed again by those who are supposed to make sure that they craft and draft policies which secure and actually protect the future of Zimbabwe. Because remember, they used to say the future is young. The future belongs to the young. But how can the future belongs to the young? While we are refusing the young to have access
Yes,
to education,
power.
while we are refusing to the young to graduate and be employed, while we are refusing the young to be paid decent salaries. So this is the culture that we are inheriting as the young people in Zimbabwe. We were born in crisis. Then we were told that no, you are the future generation. You come and lead. But they later did they forget that no, we are the present. According to Nelson Mandela, he once said, educate young people and Africa will be great. So
Exactly.
ours, as the students of Zimbabwe, our struggle is centered on academic freedom and student rights, because the result that we are witnessing in our society, what you have mentioned, drug abuse, the placer effect, sexual harassment on campuses. Ladies, a female student, her life is very expensive on campus.
Exactly.
Remember, there's a thing to do with pets and also I cannot articulate that because
Yes.
I'm not part of their struggle, but I understand because they are very affected when they are on campuses, and we have issues to do with inadequate accommodation for students. So ladies are forced actually to engage on semester marriages for two purposes. Number one, to make sure that they look for affordable and accessible accommodation for them to do their studies. Number two, they are looking for ways and means to survive in college. So my blesser now they come and take advantage of that. So we are creating a society whereby we have early marriages, unplanned pregnancies. The blesser guys, their condition is we have sex with you and we don't protect, we don't use a condom. So as a result, HIV and AIDS is spreading again. So these are the impacts that we are facing in our society, and yet we are speaking about the future. So how can we have the future while our girl child is sick with HIV and AIDS? How can we have the future while our society is suffering from poverty? How can we have the future while those who are in power are corrupt to an extent that they're actually using taxpayers' money to actually suffice their needs? And we claim that Zimbabwe is open for business, yet it is not open for education. So we don't foresee future as the young people, and this is the very paramount reason why the 1976 struggle students they gathered together to say no, we are fighting against these practices that are being done by our fathers and mothers, whom we assumed that they will protect our future. So my sister, the greatest impact that you are facing is we don't have the future in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Wow. Food for thought, guys. We don't have the future. What is the future when the future is filled with people who have HIV and AIDS, with people who do not have access to education, with people who've got early marriages, and that is going to prompt their dreams? How are you going to achieve those dreams? Yeah, there's nothing to add here, guys. You've just heard it for yourself. So, say, can you just maybe give us a way forward? We have heard the problems, we have heard the impact of those problems. What then needs to be done to eliminate those harmful practices?
Thank you very much, Grace, for that important question. And first and foremost, I would like to highlight that the students world over, they are known for two things. Number one is to initiate. Number two is to execute revolutions.
Exactly.
Dating back and in line with the commemorations of the Soweto uprising in 1976, it had come to an extent that the South Africans, so-called natives in quotes, were facing what was known as the Bantu education, whereby it was trying to put across a policy of separate development, meaning to say the whites were the ones that were superior and the blacks were considered as the inferiors. And that policy of separate development entailed that the Africans, the natives, were going to be subservient to the masters. And in line with education, it meant to say the African child was going to be exposed to the scourge of only getting material that would only assist him to be subservient to the white master. And there were subjects that were taught to the Africans. For instances, they were taught how to wash, the girls, how to wash clothes. They were taught subjects for the males, how to mop, how to clean, how to do hardcore jobs. And mathematics, science, and other subjects were not seen for the Africans. that alone, it highlights the extent of how difficult the situation was in South Africa, and it led to the uprisings of the students in South Africa. Fast tracking, we see the then minister in South Africa. He was known as Dr. Vervoort. He issued a statement which said that if I have to be given a chance to be in charge of the native education or curriculum, I will reform it to an extent that the African child will understand and know that there is no way in a lifetime a black will be equal to a European. So the issue of inequalities was at the center of the uprising, which happened in Soweto and the system of apartheid. So the idea was expressing is to initiate and execute as part and parcel of the students. That's number one. We have a role to play in issuing advocacy and education. When I mentioned that we are the paragons of intellectual dexterity, we are the creme de la creme, I meant to say that we are the torch bearers. We are the ones that should not only be politically conscious, but we should also be politically correct, because we need to understand the causes that have been articulated, the problems, the effects that have been highlighted. So we are the ones as the students that should shape that trajectory of mapping a way forward, the policies that have been mentioned. And as the Zimbabwe national students, we have two issues that we stand for. Number one, academic freedom, which has already been articulated by Comrade Bruce, as he mentioned, reference to Section 75, that we are guaranteed to free and affordable education. So this is what we should push for in terms of the policies. And we, as we are talking about what should be done, as the Africans, as the students, we should find common ground regardless of our diverse ethnic differences, political affiliations. As the Africans, the problems that we are facing in Zimbabwe are the same problems that we are facing in our universities, at campuses. That's why you find people trying to align unions with other political parties. But our idea and our identity is clear, is to stand for academic freedoms.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's so nice when we see these young people having an understanding of where they are coming from, their history, how it started, and where we are going. It actually shows us that we have a future. The youths, we know what we are doing. We know where we are coming from. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you are a youth, you were not born. But we know the history. We know, and we just want our future to be good. We just want to have a brighter future for tomorrow, and to ensure that we have peace. You said what? We are the creme de la creme. Yeah, yes. Creme de la creme.
Yes.
Wow,
I've learned. Best of the best.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. It's so fascinating. Maybe you guys, you are from ZINASU. Maybe you may just need to tell us, because I understand that you are activist. You may need to tell us the state of the activism in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you very much. Reflecting back to 1976, 16th of June, the Soweto uprising, whereby students went to the street, take it to the street to protest against the education which was being provided in that time. Taking it into our time, we as the students, we as the youth of today, as the African child of today, we are seeing inconsistent things being drafted towards the students of Zimbabwe, towards the students of Africa per se. It's not just in Zimbabwe, but we have students in Swaziland also, which are being oppressed and repressed by the government, by the regimes. Taking us back here in Zimbabwe, as students, we are not allowed to speak against the fees hikes here in Zimbabwe. When you speak against those exorbitant fees, we are being oppressed and oppressed again. But this is what we are saying. This our academic freedoms and rights to have accessible, equitable, affordable education for all. Because we are the students, we are the youth, we are the African child. here in Zimbabwe, here in Africa. So we must have that right to education. Speaking of Section 75 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which says every child has got the right to education. But
Exactly.
how do I have the right to education when the fees is
It's
pegged in US dollars? But my mother and father, truly speaking, my mother and father is having wages in RTGSs, but the institutions are demanding fees in US dollars. Where do they get it?
No.
Look at the inflation, how it is. It's affecting me as a student because I need accommodation, I need food, I need transport. Everything is just needed with money, but they hike the fees, yet the wages are just stagnant. The wages are just constant. They are not increasing the wages. Looking at the monetary policies we are having, it's killing us. It's killing the education because education needs money. But when the monetary policies, the fiscal monetary policies, is just not good for the people, it's a disaster. Hence, we are now saying what we are speaking about mass deferment. But we are saying we have the future. How are we going to uphold the future when students are deferring? When students are not able to access lecture rooms? When the girl child is dropping out of the school? How are we going to empower the girl child when we are having such things? So the student activism here in Zimbabwe has been suffering for long. When you speak out or when you try to lobby and engage with the government, it will be termed like you have been sent by the opposition, or you are a puppet, you are a Western puppet. Speaking of such, the 9 May nationwide shutdown, we stated that we are going to shut down all campuses because of 1, 2, 3 things, especially the exorbitant fees which we are facing. But the government went on to say that the students, the Zimbabwe national students of Union of Zimbabwe, is a Western puppet. But these are genuine questions. These are genuine issues which we are asking. They need to be addressed. They need to be solved so that we move on, so that we preserve the future of the African child, so that we preserve the future of the Zimbabwean child. So we are quite in a disaster mode as we speak. We are quite in a disaster mode.
It's so sad, just back in the days, we used to know that the students were given grants.
And loans.
They were paid kuzidza,
Yes. Yes.
and it was a push factor, when you're in Form 6, you just want to pass
Yeah.
so that I can go to university and given a grant. But I don't know. My grants are ended, guys.
That's the question we are asking.
It's so sad. The certainty of the future is not guaranteed.
Yes.
Because when someone defers, it's not even guaranteed that they are going to come back. Because the 4 years that you are given, it's some degrees, they are 8 years. The time might lapse. Usinakuwa na mari. And it's so sad for you to come back and start again. It's just so sad. Maybe we may just need to add something on that.
Yeah. It's actually painful to us because remember when there's activism, it means to say that there are practices which are harmful to a certain society. I remember Minister Chikwedere, by then he was the Minister of Education. He was asked the question of decolonized education in Zimbabwe. And he answered to say, decolonized education in Zimbabwe is a question not yet to be answered. Maybe it will be answered by the future generation. So we, as the generation of now, we are pursuing academic freedom and students' rights in Zimbabwe. So this is our struggle as the students, because we've identified the background of our problems, as he was mentioning, be it corporate governance, inconsistent of policies, and corruption. It pains us to say, I will repeat this again. When our parents joined the liberation struggle, they were fighting for land, ownership of the land. And this is the same land that is producing minerals that they are looting each and every day. the same minerals that actually can be at least channeled to find education. Because remember, when Zimbabwe was the breadbasket of Africa, these comrades, they were going to school for free. They were actually being paid to go to school. So it pains us to say, okay, our parents sacrificed their life so that we can secure the future of even the next generation.
Exactly.
And I remember Minister Amon Murira 2 months ago when he was meeting the principals and the students. He said academic freedom and students' right, according to our ministry, is guaranteed. Now, I would like to ask you this question: how can you speak of academic freedom in Zimbabwe when they arrested Comrade Tabuza Ngazor because he speak truth to power? How can you speak of a freedom in Zimbabwe when they arrested Alan Moyo because he protested against injustices in Zimbabwe? Simbai Hadzi was a student at the University of Zimbabwe. They were protesting against fees increments, and he was killed by the riot. Yet we assume that there's a freedom in Zimbabwe and a democratic space in Zimbabwe. So, in conclusion, I would like to say what we are facing as the students of Zimbabwe, activism to be precise. Number one, the government that you are facing is using repression and terror. When you speak truth to power, you are guaranteed that it's either prison or abduction. We have witnessed many comrades of us, the ZINASU team from the University of Zimbabwe, they just protest against the physics. They were arrested. Harare Poly principal once called the riot to beat the students who were protesting against the exorbitant fees. Yet we are in a nation where we understand that we have economic a crackdown that is actually being caused by the illicit financial flows, corruption, and etc. by the regime in this city, Harare. You see, so what we are fighting for is simple academic freedom and student rights. But as a response, we are seeing a government that doesn't respect even the rights of its citizens. We are not attacking them in terms of being just a radical, but we attack them with solutions because we understand we are the intellectuals. Remember, we understand what our country needs for it to go forward. And we appreciate the efforts that they did when they fought the liberation struggle, so as for us to gain these freedoms that we are crying for today. So in response, we are seeing the betrayal of the gains of our liberation struggle. So our cause and our fight as the students of Zimbabwe, though we are facing arrest, abductions, torture, and even assassinations, I can refer to the current situations that are happening in our country. The arrest of Job Scala, there are no charges whatsoever. They assassinated More Blessing. There are so many cases that are happening in our country that proves that our government doesn't respect democracy. Yet they claim that they are a democratic government. And our cause as the Zimbabwe National Students Union is actually fight for a democratic space. That is our primary objective. The students' right and academic freedom, they must be given based by the democratic spaces. But many say we are fighting against a dictatorship. So the space is not safe. The space is not open for activists. The space is actually closed for those who speak truth to power. It's open for business, for those who are looting and wasting our national resources, our future. So this is the current situation in our country.
Okay, it's fine. Blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the status quo, student activism, I would like to link it with what's happening in tertiary institution. As the students, we are suffering from an academic albatross. I think it's just a bottleneck system that has been happening even during the time of Ian Douglas Smith. These things have been happening, and it's not new to us. History is repeating itself. Those that we thought were going to liberate us are the ones that are actually oppressing us, and it's very detrimental and pathetic. You find out that we have the so-called SRC, student representative councils. Those initiatives, they are just but a museum display type of representation of the students. They are not genuinely representing the students. We find how they are being manipulated. They introduce these online elections for the SRCs, trying by all means to impose puppets, not the ones that the students want. So as long as at tertiary level we have bogus and not true and genuine, legitimate student representative councils, there is no way the concerns, the grievances, the plights and predicaments, for instance, of the girl child are going to be fully represented, because we are having people who are sleeping in bed with the ruling party imposed to rule and govern students. So it's very detrimental and it's heart-aching to us, because we are seeing this problem day in, day out. As I have mentioned, the striking similarities that are happening within the country as well as they're happening on campus. It's not a secret that at Great Zimbabwe University, the meals that are being that we are being offered are not tantamounting the fees that we are paying. 71,000 Zimbabwean dollars cannot suffice, or would not tantamount food that is sadza and cabbage and beans. We have been turned into vegetarians, and it's so pathetic. It's so heart-aching. Thank you.
Wow, it's so sad. Okay, maybe you may just need to tell us the significance of this day to the Zimbabwean youth.
Okay, I would want to start to share what I think the significance of the African child. And I would also want to say rest in peace to Zolile Hector Peterson. He was only 13 years old when he received unleashed live bullets by the securocrats of the white regime during the apartheid. It's very pathetic that they had the audacity to fire bullets to an innocent young boy. And I would also want to commend and salute those that had the audacity to go in the streets and execute a peaceful demonstration. But alas, it resulted in a chaos, in mayhem, and the loss of many lives on that particular day. And talking about the role and the significance of students, I think, as I've already articulated, we are there to initiate and execute. And its significance, it reminds us of our moral obligation. We should not just be politically conscious and aware of the political surroundings. We should also be correct. That comes the part of the prognosis, the solutions, the remedies. We should also come up with solutions. So not just to talk about how the Day of the African Child mentions the aspect of our identity, who we are, our Ubuntu, our culture, where we come from. It also gives a solution and a standing point of the ideologies and principles that should govern us as a people. The moment we understand who we are, there's also going to be the aspect and principle of love, of loyalty, of peace, of tranquility, because we know that he is my brother, he is my brother, you are my sister. Those principles should govern us. That's why we should not see violence. That's why we should not see mayhem. That's why we should not see any form of aggression being perpetuated or executed to anyone.
Okay, Lennon.
Okay. Thank you very much. So this day to the African child, to the Zimbabwean child, I would like to say this is the time we need to revive the mentality of the African child.
Exactly.
African child, you are not poor. African child, you are not backward. We have got something in you, African child. Zimbabwean child, you have got greatness in you, but it only needs one thing. You need to stand up and claim your space. No one will just come and give us the space we are crying for. No one will just come and give us the democracy we are crying for. But it is us, the students, it is us, the youth, it is us, the Zimbabwean child, to claim the spaces, to claim what is rightfully ours. So I'm saying to the students out there, I'm saying to the youths out there, we need to be politically clear. We need to be politically conscientized, so that when we ask for solutions, when we ask for accountability to those who are leading, we must be able to stand in. We must be able to have alternatives for where they are lacking. So this is the time whereby we as the students, we as the youth, we need to go in there and say, no, this is not right. To say in there without being afraid of persecution, without being afraid of being arrested, to say, no, enough is enough. We need we need affordable education. We need accessible. Everyone needs to access education. So this is the time whereby we need to put everything aside and tackle and take the bull by its horns, so that we claim our spaces. We claim whatever which is rightfully ours.
Exactly.
Oh.
Amandlo.
Awethu.
Amandlo.
Awethu.
Exactly, guys. That's the spirit. We need
Absolutely.
to just pick up ourselves, pick up the shoes, tie our knots,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for that question. I think this is a reflection of what Joshua Mqawongo said, that the country will not die, but the young will save it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the conscience of the moment as the students of Zimbabwe, in understanding even the struggles that were initiated and started by Lenmo Judajo in 1998, when they fought the agenda of one party state that was initiated by the late Robert Gabriel. So we have to understand and come to a consensus, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of our differences, to say, as the young people of Zimbabwe, this is our future that is being robbed. And it's high time whereby we have to define, decide, and defend our future. How we have to come to a consensus to say the conscience of the moment is demand, and its key question is to make sure that we thrive and actually initiate Zimbabwe for change. Because the struggles that we are facing now as the citizens of Zimbabwe, as the students, as the youths, as the unemployed graduates, the vendors, the transport system, you can name it, they are only originating in one thing. So we have to come to a consensus as the citizens of Zimbabwe to say, all we need, regardless of our differences, we need change in Zimbabwe. We need change of governance in Zimbabwe. We need change of politics, even the culture of police of politics that was dominated by ZANU-PF and MDC for the past 20 years is toxic, and it has created a lacuna amongst those who have and those who don't have. So this is the culture that we want to correct as the young. So the reflection of the 1976 struggle is a reflection to us as the young, as the youth, to say the time is now. The time is now for us to decide wisely, to say no. Now we want to defend our nation. And the very important thing on how to defend the nation is to make sure that we register to vote and we go vote for what we believe that can deliver change. So this is the conscience of the moment and the encouragement of the fellow citizens out there to say, let's stop being used to kill each other. Let's stop being used to being abused by the youth, by those political parties who are pushing their agenda. But this agenda is the agenda for citizens who have been repressed for so long. I remember Martin Luther King once said, freedom will not be voluntarily be given to you by the oppressor, but it must be demanded by the oppressed. So the current stance that we are taking as the young people, it is the exact stance that was taken by the comrades from South Africa in Soweto 1976 to say, we are gathering here, we are making a generational consensus to say our ideological persuasion, we want change in our government system. So I think that's the reflection according to me. Thank you.
Zimbabweans are afraid of death. My brother, that's one thing.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, guys. Your parting words, your message to the authorities, to the powers that be, to those who have power, to the youth, to everyone. You know, you have just raised your grievances. You have talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
What is your message? And that will be your last words.
My parting words to the youth out there, to the students out there. First of all, I want to remind the youth out there about the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Youth out there, you need to be aware of what's in our Constitution, so that you will know where you stand. You will know how to act. You will know how to question those who are in authority. Because all the oppression, all the repression we are having, it's something which is against the Constitution of Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So when we realize the powers given by the Constitution, it will also give us the power to challenge those who are in power. So to those who are in power, to those who are oppressing the students, to those who are oppressing and repressing the youth out there, we are saying enough of partisan politics. We now need politics of development. We now need progressive politics so that our country move forward, so that our country gets back to where it was, so that our country gets the status it deserves. Enough is enough to the looting. Enough is enough to the corruption we are facing and seeing to this day. This is not good for us. And as we mentioned earlier, as the Zimbabwe National Students Union, when we called for the 9-May shutdown, we said this is not just the end of it. This is now the start. This is the season of action. And we are not going to stop. We are going forward until we claim what is rightfully ours. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have 3 things to the African child. Number 1, be proud to be an African child.
Okay.
Number 2, register to vote. Number 3, I have a quote from Frantz Fanon. He says that each generation, out of relative obscurity, have a mandate to fulfill its future or betray it. I thank you.
Okay. Bruce.
That's wonderful. I have a message to our forefathers and our parents, of course, who fought the liberation struggle. I would like to say thank you for fighting on our behalf. We understand that we are not yet there, but you fought for us and you win the country for change. And to the young people of Zimbabwe, I would like to encourage you that it's now our time to step up and shape up and actually reclaim our status quo and defend our nation. It's high time whereby we make sure that we invade those spaces of power. We invade those spaces of influence to say, as the young people, as the majority in terms of the population of Zimbabwe, we are in charge of the decision making in our country, and we are in charge of initiating in whatsoever policy that wants to be crafted by that time. And last but not least, comrades, our task is very simple: is to make sure that we win Zimbabwe for change. Our primary need that we are having now is to make sure that we have a regime change in Zimbabwe. That's all that we want. We want to change the system in Zimbabwe because that's where our problems are emanating from, and that's where our solutions are. So register to vote, young people, and make sure that you take those spaces of influence. Aluta.
Early marriages, drug abuse, those are the main issues that are coming from these gentlemen. So in order to eliminate those practices, we need to ensure that the African child is given each and every tool that they are going to require in order to access their education. They need an affordable and accessible education so that their future will be guaranteed. And also we need to come to a political consensus. You know, we need to come at an agreement as the political leaders. We don't want a repetition of what happened during the Mugabe and the Changirai era. We need a change in Zimbabwe. Okay, and always remember to register to vote. This message comes from the 3 gentlemen and from Zimbabwe Daily. We always say register to vote and not to Guka Makafela, not to drug abuse. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It was very nice to meet you. Until we meet again, it's goodbye for now.
Thank you. Aluta.